In the shadow of empires, a new power was rising. The year was 633 CE, barely a year after the death of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Battle of Chains would mark the first major confrontation between the emerging Islamic State and the mighty Sasanian Persian Empire, a pivotal moment that would forever change the course of Middle Eastern history. This wasn't merely a military engagement, it was the opening chapter of Islamic expansion beyond Arabia, proving that the newly unified Arabian tribes could successfully challenge the ancient superpowers that had dominated the known world for centuries. The Islamic State had just emerged from crisis. Under the leadership of Caliph Abu Bakr, the Muslims had successfully quelled the Ridda Wars. With unity restored at home, Abu Bakr's gaze turned outward. The Persian Empire, with its vast territories and centuries of military tradition, would be the first test of Islamic ambitions beyond Arabia. The man entrusted with this momentous task was Khalid ibn al-Walid, the undefeated general whom the Prophet himself had named the Sword of Allah. Fresh from his victory against the false prophet Musaylima at the Battle of Yamama, Khalid received his orders from the Caliph, march to Mesopotamia and capture Al-Hira. This would be no mere border raid, it would be the beginning of conquest. The Persian Empire stood as a colossus of the ancient world. For over 4 centuries, the Sasanians had ruled vast territories stretching from Mesopotamia to the borders of India. Their armies were legendary, heavily armored, disciplined, and commanded by veterans of countless campaigns. How could the Arabs, seen by Persians as mere desert nomads, hope to challenge such might? What the Persians didn't realize was that these Arabs had been transformed. United by faith and tempered in battle, they possessed advantages the Persians couldn't match: extraordinary mobility, intimate knowledge of the desert, and an unshakable belief that their cause was divinely sanctioned. The path to confrontation began with a tribal chief named Muthanna ibn Haritha Shaybani, who had been conducting successful raids against Persian outposts. When Muthanna traveled to Medina to report his successes, Caliph Abu Bakr saw an opportunity. If small raiding parties could achieve results, what might a proper army accomplish? In March of 633, Khalid departed with 10,000 veterans of the Ridda Wars. As he marched north, his forces swelled. Tribal chiefs Muthanna ibn Haritha, Majur bin Adi, Harmala, and Sulma joined him with their warriors, bringing his total force to 18,000 men, all moving steadily toward Persian territory. Before crossing the frontier, Khalid dispatched a message to Hormozd, the Persian governor. Submit to Islam and be safe, or agree to pay the jizya and you and your people will be protected. Otherwise, you will have only yourself to blame for the consequences. The implication was clear. This was no raid, but a challenge to Persian sovereignty itself. Hormozd, a nobleman of ancient Persian lineage, responded as might be expected. He alerted Emperor Yazdegerd and assembled his forces, including Christian Arab auxiliaries loyal to Persia. A formidable army gathered, determined to crush these desert interlopers before they became a genuine threat. But Khalid was no ordinary opponent. A master strategist, he understood that the Persian advantage lay in set-piece battles where their superior armor and numbers would prevail. The Arab advantage was mobility. Khalid's men traveled on camels, with horses in tow for battle. They could traverse terrain that would most certainly exhaust Persian forces who were weighed by heavy armor in the desert heat. From this understanding came Khalid's brilliant strategy. He would not confront the Persians directly, but would exhaust them before battle. The geography offered 2 routes to the strategic port of Uballa, via Kazima or via Hufair. Khalid sent false intelligence, suggesting he would take one route, then took another, forcing the Persian army to march back and forth under the scorching sun. Hormozd led his forces from Uballa to Kazima, expecting to intercept the Muslim army. Finding no trace of Khalid, his scouts soon reported that the Arab forces were heading toward Hufair, threatening Uballa from another direction. Hormozd immediately ordered his army to march 50 miles to Hufair. Upon arriving, his exhausted troops learned that Khalid had changed direction yet again, now heading back to Kazima. The Persian army, burdened by heavy armor and supplies, had to retrace their steps. By the time they reached Kazima, they were utterly spent. Their water supplies were depleted, their energy sapped by forced marches in blistering heat. Before firing a single arrow, Khalid had already secured a critical advantage. Despite their exhaustion, Hormozd was determined to make his stand. He deployed his forces in the traditional Persian formation with a center and two wings, commanded by Generals Qubaz and Anoshagan. Then he ordered an extraordinary measure. The Persian soldiers chained themselves together in rows of 10. An ancient Persian tactic meant to prevent retreat and demonstrate their resolve to fight to the death. This practice would give the battle its enduring name, Dat al-Salasil, the Battle of Chains. The chains offered tactical advantages. They prevented cavalry from breaking through Persian lines and maintained formation integrity. But they also presented a fatal weakness. If defeat came, retreat would be impossible. Hormozd was wagering everything on victory. As dawn illuminated the battlefield in April 633, the two armies faced each other across the sands of Kazima. The Muslims positioned themselves with the desert at their backs, a stance many would consider perilous as it eliminated retreat. But Khalid knew that his mobile forces could withdraw into the desert if necessary. Terrain impassable to Persian heavy infantry, Khalid addressed his warriors. Today you face the might of Persia, but remember that victory comes not from numbers or armor, but from Allah. Fight with courage and faith, and paradise awaits those who fall. His words ignited the spirits of men who had already proven their valor in numerous battles for Islam. The engagement began with cavalry skirmishes as both sides probed defenses. Khalid ordered his archers forward to shower arrows upon the Persian ranks. The heavily armored Persians were well protected, but the continuous harassment forced them to hold position under the relentless sun, further depleting their already diminished stamina. As midday approached, Khalid saw his moment. He divided his forces into small mobile units that struck multiple points along the Persian line simultaneously. The Muslim warriors charged with extraordinary ferocity, shouting, "Allahu Akbar!" Their lighter armor allowed them to move swiftly, striking and withdrawing before the Persians could coordinate their response. Hormozd fought courageously, rallying his troops and struggling to maintain cohesion. For a time, Persian discipline held firm. The chains kept their formations intact, even as casualties mounted. But as the battle progressed, the exhaustion from their forced marches became evident. Gaps appeared in the Persian ranks where entire chained sections had fallen. Sensing the momentum shift, Khalid ordered his cavalry reserve to charge the Persian center where Hormozd commanded. The Persian general was specifically targeted by Khalid's elite guards. In a fierce clash of steel against steel, determination against determination, Hormozd fell, his elaborate armor providing no protection against the swift swords of the Muslim cavalry. With their commander slain, panic spread through Persian ranks. The wing commanders Qubaz and Anoshagan ordered retreat, but for many Persian soldiers, it was too late. Chained together, they could not escape quickly enough. What had been intended as a symbol of their resolve became the instrument of their destruction. Thousands of chained Persian soldiers fell as they struggled to flee. By sunset, Khalid ibn al-Walid and his Muslim army stood victorious on the battlefield of Kazima. The first major confrontation between the Rashidun Caliphate and the Sasanian Empire had ended decisively in the favor of Muslims. The mighty Persian army, with its centuries of tradition and superior equipment, had been defeated by warriors who, just years before, had been dismissed as desert barbarians. In the months that followed, Khalid led his forces to 3 more victories against Persian armies. Within 4 months, the Muslim conquest of Iraq was complete. Al-Hira, the objective set by Caliph Abu Bakr, fell into Muslim hands, establishing a foothold in Mesopotamia that would never be relinquished. The defeat stunned the Persian court, which had considered the Arabs unworthy of serious concern. Now they faced an existential threat from a new power driven by faith and led by brilliant commanders. For the Muslims, the Battle of Chains confirmed that their cause was divinely favored. The victory strengthened their resolve and proved that the path set by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, would continue under his successors. The sands of Kazima had witnessed the birth of a military legend and the beginning of an imperial destiny. The tactics demonstrated at this battle, mobility over mass, strategy over strength, and faith over fear, would become hallmarks of Islamic military expansion for generations. The victory announced to the world that a new power had emerged from the Arabian desert, one that would redraw the map of the known world. The Age of Empires was giving way to the Age of Islam. And it all began with chains that bound men to their deaths instead of to their victory. At Chronicle Portal, we don't just recount history. We uncover its soul, its lessons, its power to shape what comes next. Stay with us, subscribe, like, and join the conversation in the comments. Your voice matters. Together, we'll bring the untold stories of yesterday into the light of today and forge a deeper understanding of tomorrow. Because history doesn't just belong to the past, it belongs to you.